Hey guys, how's it going? Molten here. Hopefully we will not be plagued with audio problems like we were last time. I don't know yet. We're gonna find out. I'll try to monitor the stream a little bit here and there, see what it sounds like. But I don't know. Maybe it's fixed. Maybe everything will be fine. We'll find out. So today is Tutorial Tuesday. The first Tutorial Tuesday. We have every Tuesday, funnily enough. And we're going to talk about drawing hands. So let's get started. Give me a blank canvas going here. Okay, so drawing hands. This is hands are every artist dreads. No artist likes drawing hands. It's just one of those things. It's one of those things that drive people insane, no matter how good of an artist they are. The reality is, you can break hands down into some simple shapes, and it might help you out a little bit. It's one of those things that because hands are so prevalent on a day-to-day basis, if you don't get them just right, they're gonna look off. Everybody knows what a hand looks like intimately. You see your hands in your vision while you're doing pretty much anything throughout the day. You're doing stuff with your hands, you're gonna see them doing things, and so you know when something is off. So it's just one of those things. Another one that's like that is also extremely hard to draw is feet, which is kind of funny because I don't know how many times a day people see their bare feet. But feet are tough too. We may talk about that later. Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. Hands. So, when you think about hands, Mr. Thomic's here. How's it going, Mr. Thomic? Glad you're here. Craycraft is here. Hi, Cray. So when you're talking about hands, you basically have to think of hands. There are three, well, let's call it four major parts of the hand that you really need to think about. The first is, wow, that was a really thick line. The first is the palm. So the palm is arguably the most important part of the hand. Everything seems to stem from the construction of the palm. And you can see here, the palm is not quite a square, right? Not quite a square. It's pointed. I'm drawing a right hand right now, so no. But it's pointed just up here, and it kind of extends out a little tiny bit on the side. And the reason for that is it's pointed. Okay, well, first of all, it's pointed here, right where basically your middle finger would go. A really big eraser set from something I was doing. I was drawing the splash page earlier, so. But pretty much right where your middle finger is, right here, like in the center of your middle finger. That's where it's going to point. I spaced this badly. That's where it points, right where the middle finger is going to go, right? And then it's going to come out a little bit here where the thumb is going to go. But like I said, the palm is very important. It's where all hand drawings will stem from, is from your palm. Like this from the flat. And one thing that I like to do when I'm drawing hands is I actually like to just separate them like this, divide them into four. I do this for multiple reasons. One, if I'm drawing it from like a weird angle, right? If I'm drawing a hand from like an angle like this, I can kind of get a sense of the perspective on the hand, right? And it just kind of helps me out. Like, so if I wanted to do that, I can know that I point my palm like that a little bit, and then I immediately have like a better idea already of like where things are going to go, because I know that this is going to be the middle finger, right? You have like the two other fingers here and then So dividing it into four can help immensely. I do it a lot, especially when I'm just quickly doing shorthand. I may not do all this extra construction with a point and stuff like that in the palm, but it's important to know that that is how the hand works. The second thing that we're going to do, we're going to talk that we're going to think about is we're not going to jump into the complex stuff. We're still in the simple stuff. The wrist. Most people will draw a wrist on a character like this. This is wrong. Okay? It's perfectly fine for cartoon stuff, but if you really want to know how to draw these things, you should know how to do it properly, the first way, like the right way, and then you can know what rules you can break after the fact. The way that a wrist goes is actually kind of like this. It attaches pretty much to almost pretty much flush with the pinky side of the palm, and there's a little bit of space left on the thumb side. So it attaches like that. So that's important, right? So you have to know that the wrist attaches this way. The other thing that you should know about is that if you're drawing it from the side, and I draw my palm, right, kind of a wedge, right? It's got the heel. I would extend the kind of the meat of the heel of the hand out, but we'll talk about that later. But if it goes like this, it doesn't. The arm does not attach like that. That's wrong. The arm does not flush attach to the hand. The way it actually works is it's actually a little offset like this, and it kind of tapers down. So this is the thing. Go ahead, if you hold up your hand and you look at it, you'll see that I'm right. That it tapers down a little bit, and it's a slightly offset. So that's important to know for more complex hand structures. That if it's a little off like that, it's, you know, it will matter in certain poses, especially in like dynamic fighting poses and things like that. This is the kind of stuff that's going to matter. So it's important to know this stuff. And this is the other thing about drawing hands too. Observe the hand, study the hand, and you'll learn things about it that you never realized and you just took for granted. I'll get into that in a little bit. Okay, so the next thing you need to know is you need to know about the fingers. Fingers next. Fingers. Looking from a palm, this is palm face up. The fingers are, for all intents and purposes, more or less the same length as the palm. A little shorter, right? So they're going to be that, which seems really weird. It seems like you would want to put them longer than that, but that's not the case. The other thing is that they are structured. Actually, hang on, I'm doing this slightly off. I got to do this from the middle of the longest finger, which is the middle finger, right? They are structured in a curve like this. If your fingers are together, there's an arch in there, right? So that's important to know. You have a finger here, finger here, finger here, and then honestly, the pinky should be the shortest one. I mean, you can get some variation with some people have like slightly different lengths of fingers and stuff like that. You know, there's variations to the rule and stuff like that. But if you're doing this from an artistic standpoint, this is the kind of the rule is that the pinky should be the shortest one. So you have them like that, but they're gonna be in this, again, kind of like an accentuated point like we have here. It gets even more accentuated as you get to the tips of the fingers. So that's important to know, but it's going to be roughly about the same length as the palm. Like from here to here, the distance should be about the same. I have a tendency to draw them longer. Just, I don't know. I think I have long fingers, and so you have a tendency to draw. Like I talked about this before, you have a tendency to draw what you know, right? So, but that proportion-wise, they should be equal, right? These two things should be equal. Then, yeah. So we have that. And then you need to know how to divide the fingers, like where the creases are going to be in the fingers, and they're going to be from palm side up. That's different from the other way, but palm side up, the creases will be even, like this. So you split them into 3 even pieces, just like that. Okay, 3 even. Interesting thing about this. Let me just copy and paste this. So if we were talking about from the rear of the hand, from the back of the palm, things are different. From the back of the palm, first of all, the fingers appear longer. If you go ahead and look at the front of your palm, and then turn your hand over and look at the back, and what you will see is that your fingers. You have to keep your fingers together for this to work, but your fingers look longer from the back than they do from the front, and that's because you have that webbing in between each of your fingers. So yeah, and the other thing about that is that the knuckles are actually further down. The knuckles appear like on the other side. They're inside this palm shape. So they're going to be actually it should be angled. That, right? And the other interesting thing about this is that if you measure from here to here, right, this distance will be the same as the distance of both of these pieces of the finger. So it's actually this whole thing is then cut down in half. You split that in half, so it's like you go from here to here, right, and then here. That. So this is something that's very important. I didn't realize this for a really long time in my art career, that it, depending on like which side of the hand you're drawing, it's going to look a little different. But this is important, and this is what I was saying is you have to study the hand and see like what the proportions are, because it's a really strange kind of like structure of your body, and there's a lot of unique things to the way that it's put together. So it's important to note is that the back is different from the front, and it's purely because of the webbing in the fingers. That your palm is actually longer vertically than it is than the back of your hand. The back of your hand is actually much shorter. So keep that in mind when you're drawing hands, and that will help a lot. Knowing this kind of stuff, because like you may draw a thing in like a hand and say, "Oh, all my structure is right. I was really careful and measured." But there are exceptions to these rules and stuff depending on how you see it. Okay. Next thing, we're going to talk about the thumb. All right. Now the thumb comes out gently like this, slightly further than the halfway point, only just slightly, and then continues up like this. Okay, and there's a curve to most people's thumb. All right, just like that. And remember how I said before how it's like a halfway point? You pretty much picture the bone in here, and then like another bone that's the same size as this, right? And then halfway there's a knuckle. But most of the time when you're drawing a straight thumb, don't bother drawing the knuckle. It's just like that. And then you can take the heel of the palm, comes up like this from your line here. Just like that. And now you have a hand. And then you can put in the other creases and stuff if you want to, but it all depends on like how much detail you're drawing in. So when you got to basically remember that if you're thinking about the internal bone structure of your hand, you're going longest bone, half the length, half the length. Longest bone, half the length, half the length. Longest bone, half the length, half the length. That's how the bones work, all right? So keep that in mind, but when you're drawing a palm, remember that it's got that webbing that's going to cover it up, and it's going to change things a little bit, and it's a little more even to measure the fingers for your creases and stuff. Nature was convenient that way. And then the same goes for. Let me just move this over. Drawing things on the wrong levels. Super pro. Now the same thing goes for the back of the thumb. Again, bring it up a little bit more than halfway. Thumb. And then the crease will come down pretty far, honestly. Almost to the halfway point. Just like that. So that is the basics of the hand. Haircraft's back. Super Kill's here. How's it going, Super Kill? Okay, so those are the basics of the measurement. Is that you got your palm, it points right where the middle finger is going to go, so there's a little point to it there. The bones of the fingers are longest bone going to like the knuckle, and then half a length of that bone to another knuckle, and then another half the same length there again. That's how the bones work, right? So remember that, and remember that there's webbing between each finger that makes them feel a lot shorter if you're looking at it from the palm. Just going to reiterate all this stuff because this is some of the most important stuff right here, right? That's how it works, and this will look like 3 even parts, so you know where the webbing's going to go because it's going to be 3 even parts. Cool. So we got that covered. If anybody has any questions, let me know. I'll do my best to answer them. Oh, I bet it's all ears. Okay, so let's talk about drawing hands in a practical sense. Drawing hands when you're doing like the posing of hands, I'm basically talking about, is drawing. One tendency people will have when they draw hands is, for one, they work too hard. They work too hard doing it, and they overthink a lot of things, and they end up having really complex looking gestures and stuff that are completely unnecessary. So let's just say I'm doing a pose where the guy is just kind of, he's just kind of gesturing. He's gesturing like in a kind of casual manner to something, right? What you can do is you can put one finger out like this. Molten, you saw a picture and how I was trying to get the hand to look. It was like it was throwing or holding something. I did see that. So you got this one finger here, right? And then what you can do is you can group the other ones into like a chunk of like a mitt almost. So you have 3 fingers together in a chunk, and then 1 finger separate. And this will actually help with your posing a little bit because it keeps things pretty solid, right? But at the same time, it's broken up with that 1 finger being separate. This is much easier to illustrate when I'm doing like cartoon hands and stuff. So if I do like from here, I do Mickey Mouse hand like that. So you see I've got like 1 defined finger and then like a mitt of them over there. That's what I was trying to go for. So if you're trying to do a hand actually holding something, first thing you should do is be like, draw the thing that it's holding. The other thing that I do a lot of times when I draw, especially when I'm trying to figure out like gripping things wrapping around things and stuff like that, I will actually draw in these kind of curves, right? To show so that my brain can kind of like, for the rough, right? My brain can kind of understand the volume that's going on here, right? That it curves and stuff like that, right? And then you can put together the hand that's holding it. So the palm there, the point right there, and then the first bone is going to come up here, and then again that half is long. Let me switch to a different color so it's easier. Man, Windows sounds. Okay, switch to different. Wow, I'm not on. I was on a black and white file. Okay, so got like that. And again, think about the bones, the half size ones and then the long one. So longest bone, half size, longest bone, half size, half size. And again, like I was saying, I'm going to make it a mitt. I'm just going to do that, right? This one's a little separate. And again, longest bone, half size, and then half size, half size. And you can kind of imagine how it's going to wrap around. And you got the once you have your rough in, then you can start like cleaning it up and like making a little more, being more careful. Yeah, I'm gonna have to talk about robotic hands afterwards because robotic hands can be a little different. So now that I have my structure in place, I can start drawing. I always start with drawing the back of the hands and the back of the fingers, and there's a reason for that. So when you draw the back of the set of fingers, this, right? You can think of them as being flat, right? As being like ribbons, right? And then the meat of the fingers will hangs off of that flat edge. Like if you imagine you were looking at it straight on, your finger would be kind of like this. It's got the fingernail, and then maybe like they bump the bumps of the knuckles, but it's flat at the top, and the meat hangs below it. If you think about it that way, it can be a little bit easier to kind of imagine the planes that you're going to be dealing with, right? Of your fingers. So flat edges for the top, and I usually design my fingers that way. So I think of the flat edges they're going along the top. So I got one finger here, like that, and then slight variation with these two put together like this, right? And then a greater variation to this one, just because he's kind of holding it at a funny angle, right? Like something more relaxed. Flat ends, and then you can start putting in like the meat that sits below the actual like padding. It's actually fat pads for the most part. A lot of the muscles are in the fingers are just tendons, right? Just attaching bone to bone. And then the real, a lot of the bulk of the hand is just a fat pad that that kind of pads that cushions the finger and allows you to grip things a little bit better with the cushion, using the cushion. And that's why if your fingers are bent, there'll be this kind of like the folds happen, and they bulge out a little bit because it's just like a soft kind of pillowy thing that allows you to just get a more solid grip on something. Because if you've ever tried to say grip a bolt or something with a like a wrench that is not quite the right size, it doesn't like fit in the right shape, it just slips, right? Because there's no gripping power, because it doesn't have any kind of like softness to kind of like hold something tight. But that's why you get these kind of like these things. It's the fat pads in the fingers. So that's kind of how I construct things. Now, if you're doing robotic hands, you actually have to think about what that hand. Robotic hands are kind of a slightly different animal. When you're designing a robot hand, you have to consider, what was this hand meant for? Because robots have a tendency to be designed to do something specific. That, or they've been designed specifically to mimic human hands. And if they're meant to mimic human hands, then you just kind of do what I told you is, you draw a human hand, make it a little robotic, throw in some bolts here and there, maybe some so it's like okay, example, if I was going to do a robot hand, right, it was like mimicking a human hand, then what I might do is maybe start with the palm again. Like I said, I always build all my hands from palms, right? I'm gonna do that same thing where I'm kind of showing the perspective, right? I got the perspective going on like this way, right? So I show the perspective, and then what I might do is to make it seem like a little different um, than a human hand is maybe I'd make these fingers, which honestly don't tend to have a use on their own most times, as like one big chunk, and then that, right? Also because it looks good in posing. And then make this finger separate, like that, right? You do that, and then you do something neat like cut this off here, right? That part of the palm, and maybe have like a plate, like a solid plate that can articulate a little bit, right? Like it's got like some kind of thing that allows it to like bend and stuff to mimic a hand. Like the hand can, like our palms can bend like this, right? Like you can have a palm that's bent, and then the fingers like come straight out of the palm, right? Like that. Like you're able to do that with your hand, but maybe a robot can't. So maybe it's got like an articulating plate there that allows it to kind of mimic that kind of motion. Let me just for design's sake, I'm just gonna bring that down a little bit. This one looks like it's doing something or other. Okay, so we got this articulating plate maybe, and then I guess the thumb needs to be kind of blocky as well. But you can do that, and then maybe like attach it with like rotating like cuff thing or something like that, and then you go like Transformer style, rotating cuff into like a big blocky chunk like that, right? But it's got like all the same principles for like, this is like a multi-use hand. This isn't a hand. This would be like, okay, I'm designing a robot that does lots of things, right? It wasn't designed with a very specific use in mind. It was designed to like, say like mimic an organic being. So if you're doing that, then like, again, you can base your design heavily off of a human hand, right? But if you want to do something that's even more alien looking, like it's different looking, and you don't want it to feel like this might have been designed to be for a human to be comfortable around, because it's sort of human-ish, the hand. So let's say you want to do something a lot more industrial for something like that, then maybe you have like a thing that's got gripping pads, right? So that it doesn't have fat pads. It has these rubber gripping pads that are like kind of have teeth, because it doesn't have a huge range of motion, so it has to like rely on these rubber teeth to do the job, right? You have that, and then maybe you have like it comes up a little bit in a bracket, and like this. And then falls into like a slot here, like that. So they're like clamp hands, right? They go into these things here, and then maybe there's like a sensor inside that chunk of hand. It's gonna overlap here just from perspective. Like that. There's like a sensor in there maybe, and it allows it to both rotate like this, right? It can rotate, but it also like, because it's round, but also in here it's got an embedded sensor, so it knows that it's like it's close enough to actually grip something, and then it can like close its clamps on it. So you can do that, and this would be like, this robot has a very specific use. And like it was like a manufacturing robot. It doesn't need to do something like hold a knife gently in a kitchen, or it doesn't need to spin a gun around like like an old west gunman or whatever, right? Like it's meant for being able to pick something up, rotate it, and place it, or you can go with if it's going to grab something, and again, like it's going to grab something in a very specific way, right? Like it's going to grab something with like the tips of its fingers, um, and you can change up what you want to do with this too. Like you could have it so that you could have something like I'm just trying to think, maybe like it's got one big gripper pad like this, or maybe it's got like maybe it's a completely different design and it has three gripper pads like this. So we can wrap around something safely, right? And then it's got, you know, articulation points here. So we got like something like a hinge, right? And then maybe it needs power, so maybe we'll make it so like it's got like a built-in engine on each hinge, like this. So it bumps up a little bit and it almost looks like knuckles, right? And then you can have something like that, and then this thing would wrap around stuff, and it doesn't need a thumb, right? Because it just like it can just maybe put a fourth one, just so we can really wrap around things like that, right? And then maybe so then this hand is specifically meant to just be able to wrap around like round objects or something like that. Maybe it has like just a little bit of a pad at the bottom like this, right? And then you can attach that on. For this one, I would probably like do some kind of like overlapping thing here so that it has a little bit more free range of motion. Like in here, like have this bit hollow, right? And then it can go like this, that. And so this one has a specific thing. This one can pinch carefully something, a small object. This is meant for picking up a large object and like holding it firm, right? And you can even do stuff like if you want to like really, really kind of do something to, like make it look like it needs support or it needs like extra power. Maybe it has like a piston arm here that can retract or whatever and allow it to put a little bit extra power in. Maybe it's got like another little piston here, that something like this, so that it's got extra gripping power or something. Yeah, you could do that. And the way the hands would move is the engines would go full blast. Right? Yeah. I was trying to make a robot hand. Okay. Yeah. So the way the hands would move is the engines would go full blast. Exactly. Okay. So you got that. You can do other stuff too. The other part of this too is thinking about what you can do like with simple technology, because you can also do this kind of stuff where like if you draw like a finger, right, for a robot, and it's like an advanced robot, right? You draw a finger like this, right? And then you go, okay, well it needs to articulate this finger, so let's put some joints in here like this, right? And then like, okay, it's gonna come like that. And then you just put this here. There's no technology showing, right? So you have to assume that it's like this. If you're hiding a lot of technology, you don't see it. You have to assume the viewer has to assume that it's like it's high tech, and it's you can't see the engines stuff like that because they're so small. They've been manufactured by so some big company or something like that, and this thing is mass produced. Has like really, really high end parts driving, right? Because they're small. That's so you can just suggest that something like that by giving weird plates and stuff. And like this might be a thing, like maybe it's functioning that when it extends out straight, it doesn't cut extend too far, right? It like hits this little piece here. Yeah, all right. So I have to stop there. I can see too far. Okay, so we got that. Trying to think. What else do we need to know about hands? Oh yeah, there is some more stuff. Okay, so a fist. A fist is a thing. So, first thing you should know about a fist is, like I said before, the hand can bend. Thank you very much. I'm doing my best to try to pass on the stuff I know. If you have any questions you want to be clarified or anything, please let me know. I'm happy to stop and talk more about it. Glad you enjoyed though. Okay, so I'm doing a front on hand here, right? This point would be the point where it points out like this, right? Like that. So this is going to be the middle finger right here. Middle finger's right there. Um, Index finger, ring finger, pinky finger. All right. Now, when the hands curl in, or when the fists curl in, what tends to happen when somebody makes a fist is, okay, first of all, this one curls straight down, right? And again, you got to remember that we're talking about when something like this bends. Let me show it to the side. It's going to pivot from the bone, right? So we're talking now, because we're seeing the back end of it, we're talking about doing the longest bone and then the two shorter bones that make up the same length, right? So we gotta think about this from the longest bone perspective. So the knuckles up here, which means that's where the bone is, comes all the way down like that, and then it's gonna curl in. So, but the middle finger tends to dominate the front view of the fist. So keep that in mind. And then all the other fingers, they go in towards the center. They don't go straight down. They kind of pinch in a little bit. So the second one, the ring or index finger, right? This pinches in, and then these two kind of have a tendency. The ring finger and the pinky have a tendency to really get pulled in behind these other two fingers. Like these two fingers tend to dominate the fist. So like that, they kind of seem to not be the stars of the show, right? And then this, and then you have the thumb. Yeah, spend a lot more time refining. Again, longest bone in there, short bone. That's just what I'm thinking. So that's the hand that's the fist from the front. And again, you just look at your fist and study it. Try to imagine you have X-ray vision and think about where the bones are in the bone, where the you gotta remember that the webbing from the inside of the palm is down here at the point, right? Here, right? Just try to imagine it all. Think about the hand, all the little structures of the hand and what they're doing in the fist. So like that. So you draw, you do. If you're imagining this from the palm view, right? You got longest bone, short bone, position, right? Longest bone, short bone, and this one, the pinky tends to hang out a bit more than the other fingers when your hands are extended. That's a weird quirk of the pinky. You got that. Like before, one bone, short bone, right? So, and we gotta try to keep this curved if we can because it has a tendency to curve. All right, so you got your fingers. Another thing. All right, and you can imagine it this way. This is like what you can think about when you're like drawing those fingers curled in. They're going to curl in like this, right? Straight back into their inward pointing comfortable position, right? That's why they pull in like this. They come straight back and they curl in. So keep that in mind. And again, remember when you're drawing fists, like you come down like this, like so fist will come down like that, which can really change the way a pose looks. If you're drawing like a fist like this, like he's just winding up, he's really pissed and he's winding up to take a shot at somebody. remember that it does this. This can really change the way that your pose is going to look. My mic is going all robotic every once in a while. You know what? I think it has to do with my music. It's really kind of weird. One sec. I'm gonna try something. Let me just keep the music off for a little bit and let me know if it's doing it or not. If it's not doing it, I want to know if because then it could be that the music. This is the first time I started using Windows Media Player for music. So maybe it's some Windows Media Player. Um, cool. So yeah, remember that it does this. You got to remember all these things about the hand and like the little intricacies of it in order to be able to really get the most out of your hand drawings, right? And again, experiment with with the lengths that your fingers can go and your hands can go. Like, okay, so if we have this, and a lot of people do this thing where like they'll be like, oh, I want to draw like an edgy hand or something like that. Like the dude is like doing, and he does they do like this finger that goes like this, and they're like, okay, fingers can't do that. They can't pop up that far. If this is the back of the hand, if this is the back right here, right? Finger can go maybe I don't know, like not even 45 degrees up, right? Like that. So, know the limitations, and they can't, and your the lower part of your finger, like the lower knuckles, they can't go past straight. Like this can go up a little bit, but you know, that's about all they're gonna do. Um, and again, don't have each finger if you're doing like a weird pose like this. Don't have each finger bent at the exact same angle. Like this kind of pose implies like I don't know pain or some like uh, very specific direction that the fingers have to be held for a specific purpose. But they don't go that far. Don't push it too far. Know the limits of the anatomy, right? Um, like if you have your wrist and the the palm can point almost 90 degrees. In fact, probably 90 degrees, right? Let's get it to 90 degrees. But remember, there's going to be this meat here that's going to kind of bunch up here that would normally, like, for it kind of pops down, right? There's all this kind of meat here that's going to bunch up. So keep that in mind. It's going to bunch up like that, right? Um, but it'll go almost 90 degrees and then down, not quite 90 degrees if you're looking at the back of the hand. Like it can go, so yeah, you have the, you know, fingers going out like this. Down, it's not going to quite go 90 degrees, a little bit less than 90 degrees. Um, and because I'm not doing a good job with this. Hang on. Um, because it's offset and it's going to go down like this, right? This is kind of the reason that you get a bit of bunching. You'll get a lot of like creases here, right? But it's going to go almost straight like this because it's offset. It's going to allow it to kind of like sink down really well. But you're going to get, like I said, like going to get a lot of creases in here. Um, with here, you might get a few creases, but like nothing substantial. It's just it's got this weird gap that it has, like that it's offset like this little bit of meat here can does weird things to the poses, but knowing that it's there and knowing that it's important can really kind of take your hand posing to the next level. Also, what your thumb can do, know what your thumb can do, things like that. We'll probably go into some more in-depth stuff with anatomy, as far as like anatomy of the wrist and anatomy of the forearm and stuff like that. But right now, I think hands are the thing that you need to practice to start with. Knowing all that how it flows into other stuff that'll come later. We're just going to talk about hands today. So and we're pretty much done actually. Honestly, this is the main thing is knowing that that you split it into four allows you to know where things are going to go. Uh, you can, like, you have this reference point. You go halfway through here. That's where it spikes up a little bit, so you can, where your index or where your middle finger is going to go. And if you know where your middle finger is going to go, you're going to know a lot more where all the other fingers are going to go. Um, use construction. Hands, they will become second nature. You draw enough hands, and they're going to be right the first time, and then you're gonna be better and stuff like that if you can help it. Mike has been good for a while now. It's got to be my music then. I was suspecting. I was listening back to my previous thing, and it was when certain music was playing, like certain tones, it was messing with it. So I think that's the deal. I'll try with a different music player. It might change it because I don't think it ever did it when I was playing music online. I don't know. We'll see. Superkill says, I guess if you want to get hands fast and right, you got to draw lots of hands. Yeah, and just want to say I did a hand, but drawing a lot more so that you get them your muscle memory and visual library. Yes, exactly. Yeah, my mic started cutting out again. I don't know what the deal is, guys. I don't know. I hate my mic. I'm getting a new one soon. New mic soon. I'm so sorry that it's bad. Um, there's not much I can do about it. I've tried messing with it. I tried reinstalling OBS over top to see if there was like a broken DLL, but I'm gonna have to just probably delete it and reinstall it, which really sucks. Um, yeah, but definitely you need to do lots of hands, practice, 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 lots and lots and lots of hands. Um, do it right, practice smart, practice carefully, take your time, do the construction. The more you do the construction, the more you will like have it kind of lodged correctly in your brain, and you will be able to do hands better without the construction later on, just because you can just picture the construction. You've done it so much you can just picture it. Also, um, also, get some reference. Get some reference stuff. There's tons of Disney model sheets, like hand model sheets out there. Like, yeah, let me Google it really fast. So hang on. I just Googled hand model sheet, and there's tons. There's tons and tons and tons of stuff there. People have drawn Disney artists have drawn hands by the ton and put them on pages. Go grab those, um, and see what it's all about. Um, Copy those hands, copy them, and put the construction, like build the construction into the hands. Like, hang on. Okay, so I just grabbed this one. It's from the Iron Giant, right? And you can go in here, and a great exercise is to like print one of these out, and then grab like a red pencil or something like that, and like draw in the construction of the hands in here, like this. You can see what he's done here, right? It connects to the back here, and not quite to there, right? You've got the knuckles are in here, and they go long, short, and there's a short in there. Knuckle, long, short, short, here it comes out, and again, like I said, the tip of the thumb curls out, right? Do this, understand how they work. I did this a lot in school. Was you would draw in the construction lines, and the knuckles are inside, longest, short, short, right? This one's kind of got a weird perspective on it, but short, short, like this. There's the backwards curve, right? Meat of the hand. This comes to here. This is cartoony, so they've got a little bit extra here, but you see, the concept's the same. Study it, do it right over and over and over, and you will be good with hands. Hands will no longer be your kryptonite. I hope I helped a little bit, guys. Sorry about the audio issues. It's gonna get fixed. I hate that it's bad right now, but I'm gonna do what I can. I will be back again tomorrow. So these tutorial Tuesdays will be probably shorter episodes because I can't blab for 2 hours about a single tutorial. You never know, I might do double tutorials sometimes. Today, a lot of stuff going on, so we're gonna just do the one. But I hope you hope you learned something. I hope you guys had some fun. Feel free, as always, you can send me your stuff if you want critiques, if you want me just to to help out a little bit, maybe do some draw overs for you, kind of explain some stuff. Always happy to help out wherever I can. Thanks a ton for coming, guys. Thomik, it's all right, Molten. Make do with what you got. I will do. Got plans to make it better though, so that's good. Really appreciate you coming out. I'm gonna put this on YouTube for sure, definitely. I'll probably load it up right after this, and then you can watch it over and over. So, thanks again for coming out. I will be here again tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for some more just watching me draw stuff. Catch you guys later.